I've said enough about this. Let's move on.
Let me ask you this
No,
one
let's
thing
move on,
then.
okay? Honestly, I'm ready. I'm not gonna get attacked here. You're here, so I'm done with this. Next.
Jordan Belfort is the stockbroker and entrepreneur behind a massive stock market manipulation and penny stock scam to manipulate vulnerable people while committing massive fraud. He pleaded guilty to fraud and related crimes, spending almost 2 years in prison. And when he was released, he published his memoir, The Wolf of Wall Street. The memoir was later adapted into a massively successful movie of the same name, and Jordan is currently a free man. And now he's a motivational speaker, traveling the world talking about his successes in entrepreneurship. Today we're covering the life of Jordan Belfort. Tomorrow though, you decide. Let us know in the comments down below who you think we should cover on the next few episodes of Where Are They Now. While you're there, don't forget to like this video so we know you enjoyed it. Now let's get into it. Jordan was born in New York City and was immediately someone with an entrepreneurial mindset. He and his childhood friend would go around selling ice cream from styrofoam coolers at the local beach to tourists, earning around $20,000. When he entered into university, he did so with a degree in biology and ventured towards becoming a dentist with the money he made selling the ice cream. However, he only lasted 1 day when the dean of the school said to him, quote, "The golden age of dentistry is over. If you're here simply because you're looking to make a lot of money, you're in the wrong place." And so he went on to try and make money without school. Belfort began to sell meat and seafood door to door as a salesman in Long Island. If there's one thing Jordan is, it's charismatic. He could charm anyone into buying his products, and he became so successful that he grew his own meat selling business to employ several workers. They sold 5,000 pounds of beef and fish a week, although the business did ultimately fail and he filed for bankruptcy by the age of 25 years old. The reasons being the small margins. You had to sell a ton of meat to make a small profit, and it just became not worth it. From his sales experience, Jordan found stocks. He went on to become a trainee stockbroker at LF Rothschild, a massive investing firm at the time that went under, and Belfort got fired because of this during the Black Monday stock market crash in 1987. By this time, he was approaching 30 years old, and so he decided to found a financial firm himself called Stratton Oakmont, an over-the-counter brokerage house. It specialized in dicey stocks and profited off of gullible investors with a lot of money. Basically, he was like an unethical Robin Hood. He stole from the rich, and instead of giving to the poor, he gave to himself and his friends. They also marketed penny stocks, which are basically stocks you can buy for super cheap and sell quickly for like $1 or $2 in profit. But if you do it quick enough and with enough success, you can build quite a fortune with the pump and dump style of stock sales. Only issue with this model of business is that it's highly illegal. Pump and dump stocks are basically a form of fraud, where you sell a stock under false pretenses that it's worth more than it actually is. So if I were to buy a cheap stock that cost me $100, but I told everyone if it was worth $1,000 and then I sold it for $800, that's a form of fraud because the stock isn't worth nearly that much, and it inflates shares based on a lie, leading to higher chances of a market crash. But on the pretenses of lies, Jordan found extreme success. At the peak of the company, it held over 1,000 stockbrokers and oversaw investments of more than $1 billion in the early 90s. The company was so successful in such a short amount of time that Belfort's employees hailed him as a godlike figure. He hired not on experience, but based on tenacity. One of his employees went from laying carpet for a living to making $100,000 a month as a stockbroker. He'd train anyone so long as he saw a willingness in them to give it their all. And honestly, if it weren't built on illegal tactics, I'd say that business model is near brilliant. So many companies are so willing to overlook great employees because they're unwilling to train. Rather than seeing potential in an individual, they get lazy and want someone who already knows how to do the job, whether or not they're actually good at it. But issue is, Belfort got greedy. Nowadays, Jordan describes his life of debauchery as even worse than what was depicted in the film based on his life, The Wolf of Wall Street. And if you've seen this movie, I know it would be hard to conceive of something worse than what they did in the film. He claims that the substance use and the girls parading around the office were entirely true. Quote, "In some respects, my life was even worse than that, although I'd say I did more quaaludes than..." While he was on top of the world, he was also being chased. Ever since the inception of his company, the firm had been targeted by law enforcement officials, and it became a well-known secret that the company was doing illegal activity basically in broad daylight. They were under near constant security from the National Association of Securities Dealers, and finally, in 1996, the authorities had enough evidence and red-handed confessionals from investors who got burned and employees who got fired from the company that they shut down downtown Stratton-Oakmont. And 3 years later, in 1999, Jordan was sentenced to 4 years in prison for money laundering and securities fraud. He pled guilty to fraud for the pump and dump schemes, which may have cost his investors over $200 million. In the 90s, this was massive. He was also ordered to pay back $100 million that he swindled from stock buyers. When speaking after his release from prison, Belfort stated, quote, "I got greedy. Greedy is not good. Ambition is good, passion prospers. My goal is to give more than I get. That's a sustainable form of success. 95% of the business was legitimate. It was all brokerage firm issues. It was all legitimate, nothing to do with liquidating stocks." Although he was sentenced to 4 years in prison, Jordan would only serve just less than 2 and a month in rehabilitation services. He was also sentenced to a restitution agreement where he was required to pay 50% of his income towards restitution of the 1,500 clients that he defrauded. He only paid $11 million of the $100 million he was told to pay, and for some reason he has not been penalized since. Jordan has also been heavily criticized for the mass amount of money that he made from his memoir and the movie that came after it. As of now, all he is ordered to pay is $10,000 a month to restitution rather than the initial 50% of his income. He has made hundreds of millions of dollars from his memoir and the movie alone. And now he's almost completely rebranded himself as a motivational speaker. He's published 2 memoirs, the one I mentioned above that the movie's based on, and another called Way of the Wolf that focuses on how exactly to make the money that he did. He focuses on persuasion and how to influence people to do what you want them to do for your own personal successes. His motivational speeches range from questions of ethics and motivation in the financial world to practical demonstrations of sales skills. He also doesn't shy away from the mistakes he made during his time at Stratton-Oakmont, indicating that he was under the influence of a cocktail of substances for the majority of the time that led him to his own downfall. He also states that he deeply regrets having lost money for his clients through his scams, although he shied away from questions about why he hasn't paid them back despite continuing to have a net worth of $100 million in 2021. Also recently, he has hesitantly started to become invested in cryptocurrency, although before he was a skeptic, claiming that Bitcoin was, quote, freaking insanity and mass delusion. After learning more about it, and after the price of Bitcoin skyrocketed, Belfort seems to have changed his tune. Although he's declined the notion of making wolf-themed NFTs, which at the time of writing this has seen mass amounts of crashes, Jordan has invested in several cryptocurrency startups and states that he is, quote, massively looking forward to regulation within the crypto industry. So what do you think about Jordan Belfort? Do you think he got off scot-free, or do you think he got the punishment he deserves? Let us know in the comments down below. While you're down there, be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can stay notified when we post our next video. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Where Are They Now? I've been your host Sierra, see you guys next time.